There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia. Carl Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal live stream. How are you this morning? I hope you're well. Let's see who's in this morning already. Queuing up from 8 o'clock this morning. Isn't that remarkable? Thank you so much. Thunder for being in first with a bit of bon dia alegria, tudo bem? And day 275, in case you're wondering, 275, licenseless in Lisbon, driving license, that is. I saw a car with a bumper sticker that said, "I miss San Francisco." So I smashed his window and stole his radio. Surely it's not like that. I loved San Francisco when I went there. That didn't happen to me. Yes, good morning to you wherever you are in the world, San Francisco or elsewhere. And of course, we're doing our best to help you inspire you to move to Portugal and help you once you've got here. Okay, that's what we're all about here at expatsportugal.com. And we'll be doing that this morning from 9, talking to Wiley in the first of her residencies. She is our agent and buyer's agent and representative over there in Cascais Way. And she has a fantastic way about her in how she goes about finding property for people, and an excellent focus, which you'll find out more about from 9 o'clock this morning. Looking forward to talking to Wiley. Always good fun. She has Swedish and American roots and a love of Portugal, of course, as well, which puts her in a unique position to help you if you are. Do you know Cascais? Have you been to Cascais? Absolutely beautiful. I've always enjoyed all of my trips over that way. Very swanky and posh, of course. And I understand, it's certainly a haven for expats in Cascais, very close to the capital, of course. Great rail links to the capital. A lovely drive along the river, of course, as well. If you make your way from Lisbon to Cascais and vice versa. I think there's a UN base there, possibly that is part and parcel of the whole expat experience over there in Cascais. Others will tell me, I'm sure. So let's do the Steve Wright. Not Steve Wright. Steve Wright's a UK radio presenter, isn't he? Radio 2 in the afternoons. Maybe he's still doing it. It's probably 100 years now. Stephen Wright quote of the day: "All those who believe in psychokinesis, raise my hand." Very good. Oh, stop that. George Carlin quote of the day: "Those who dance are considered insane by those who cannot hear the music." Was that a George Carlin quote? Another cracker from George Carlin. And reminded again this morning that we need some Portuguese humor and comedy, some classic Portuguese one-liners in the mix. Who can help us with that? It's good. All you folks who are moving from 15 to 40 minutes a day, that's going to help, isn't it? Researching Portuguese humor. You're going to get a sense of the Portuguese personality through the humor. And you're going to be doing some research in Portuguese. It's going to help. Who wants to take that on? Moaz is here. João F is here. Hey, how you doing, João F? Baldilocks is here. And who else? Oh, Baddy's up there in Iceland as well. Good morning to you, Baddy. Hope everything's going well for you and family. OLP, the OLP in the house from Oregon, of course. Coach Turner's in, getting ready to girding his loins for a trip to Portugal soon as well. Looking forward to meeting you then, Coach Turner. Suze is here. Come back to more of your specific comments later. And who else is in here right now? Raphael is here as well. Not your average globetrotter up there in Braga. Oh, this is good. So, folks, I have a poll question. Start your own polls, why don't you? In the comments there. Buddy's doing this. Where would you choose to live and why? Well, it's funny you should say that, Buddy. You can get, certainly. And she adds to that. In Portugal, of course. I can add to this. Well, add your comments this morning in this. What I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, sorry, it was quite a busy day yesterday. We met up. Jerry and I met up with Nuno and had a fantastic time. Beautiful lunch in San Martino de Porto, overlooking the bay. It was absolutely delightful. And we had one of those great meetings where it just went on and on in a good way. You know, some business meetings can go on and on in quite a bad way, can't they? If you remember your corporate careers. But this was great. We just kept thinking of new things to bring to you within the world of insurance. And we were talking about business in Portugal. Nuno's such a great chap, as you'll know. If you ever see him on his weekly residency, you won't have to wait too long. He'll be with us next Tuesday. So great fun to see him and see his Tesla vehicle as well, which gave us a little light show on the curbside. Mission Impossible light show is quite extraordinary. What else can those Teslas do? But anyway, going back to Baddy's poll, where would you choose to live and why? Location, population, services, and affordability. We can talk about Cascais, of course, from 9 o'clock on the Move to Portugal Thursday. And her question is, of course, the scope is in Portugal. Of course, she says. And tonight, the webinar is of the very same question and inquiry: where to live in Portugal. So Jerry's got he's a champion. He's the champion of where to live, or the best place to live in Portugal. Central Portugal has the crown at the moment, and great value, of course, in Central Portugal, but the river beaches, but no coast. You know, you have to bring all of these factors into the mix when choosing somewhere to live here, and I'm sure he will this evening, aided and abetted by the Ask Our Expats experts on living here and lifestyle in Portugal. They've lived here between them. I don't wonder what their amount of collective years is, but they have good experience of being in Portugal. Some of you have spoken to the Ask Our Expats team when you're on your way here, and they'll be backing up Jerry tonight from their respective positions. We'll have, Cascais representation tonight. We'll have Tamar. We may well have the Ribatejo Valley, Alcobaça. We'll have people talking from their particular points of Portugal and why they love being there. But Jerry will lead the way with a presentation on this very subject, Buddy. So thank you for mentioning that. What a lovely coincidence. But feel free to get that conversation going in the chat this morning. And of course, when Wiley's here, we can focus in on Cascais as well. Okay, it was a delight to look what I've got, everybody. Proud owner, Marmite this morning, and a few shortbread fingers. Who doesn't like a shortbread finger in the morning? And some tea bags. Some tea bags came from who, you ask? Well, William and Carol pulled into town yesterday, and I love meeting up with the Gumper community. And we did that with William and Carol yesterday. And I've got some photos to prove it as well. They gave me a lovely mug as well. Look at that. I am an undisputed national Trevor, not an undisputed national Trevor. I wanted to be called Trevor as a kid. I think one of my godfathers, in case you're out there, godfathers, I haven't seen you for a while. I think you owe me a few birthday presents. Anyway, they gave me this lovely mug. Look at that. Undisputed national treasure, not an undisputed national Trevor. And let's have a look at some of the snaps from yesterday on the seafront. They came in their I didn't find out what their incredible vehicle was called. But there we were, brewed up on the vehicle. Whoops, that file's a bit too large. Oh, okay. So the one I'm trying to load up a GIF, and that's clearly not working. But I do have the picture of me, William, and Carol on the seafront there. Let me put that onto the screen now. Here we are with the mugs again. And they kept saying to me, look, there's their fantastic vehicle in the background there. They've driven it over from Northern Ireland. Isn't that amazing? So lovely to meet you yesterday, William and Carol. And thank you for all amazing goodies. Loving the whole household, loving. Let me just put that by the side there. Yeah, the whole household loving the Marmite and the new strong tea bags and the shortbread fingers. And of course, the lovely whiskey marmalade that you gave us as well. And these mugs. And they kept saying, hold the mug up, hold the mug up. There you go. So there you go. Undisputed national treasure mugs. Isn't that fantastic? And staying with the Bay, lovely to see you, William and Carol, see you when you swing by this way again. And a moody picture of the Bay later on in the day there. Isn't that lovely? And I'm realizing that we're quite Silver Coast centric, aren't we? I'm showing you a photograph, I think, of San Martino de Porto pretty much every day now. So do please send pics of where you are in Portugal. And that might help this morning's conversation, as begun by Baddy, where to live in Portugal. If you think you've got a good place to share for Baddy's inquiry this morning, send in a couple of pics as well, and I'll do my best to get them onto the screen. Did we get a few more pickies in yesterday? I think we did. Do remind me if I've missed any of your pictures. I'm just thinking Victoria might have sent me something recently that I have overlooked. Oh, the Monchique pictures. Yeah, they were beautiful. I'm not sure if I shared the Monchique. Is that a sunrise or a sunset? But the sun in Monchique. Let's do that for you as well, and swap that over with the Moody Martino picture that you can see on your screen there. But let's go to Monchique now. Oh, you've got a lot of files. Too many files. We've broken the system, everybody. Let me just get rid of a few while you have a long and lingering look at San Martino de Porto there. Blessing of the Helmets poster. Better leave that because we'll be coming back to that. Oh, and that was Andy's picture from yesterday, wasn't it? He was wishing he was on that plane that was leaving that vapor trail coming back to Portugal, of course. So, yeah, let me just try this again. Monchique, got to go to Monchique. Monchique's awesome. Here's a sunrise or a sunset in Monchique. Can you tell from the orientation, I wonder, of that, whether that's a sunrise or a sunset? Beautiful. As you can see, a different sort of terrain. It's the Algarve, folks. That is the Algarve. And now it's not your normal picture of the Algarve, is it? It's rugged and rocky and mountainous, that particular part of Monchique. And the best water, I think, alkaline water from the Monchique. They're not wells, are they? Fonge de Monchique. Okay, so yeah, thanks again for all the goodies, William and Carol there. And look at that tour bus at the back there. Extraordinary. In from Deagle. Now, am I too late to wish people a Kongi Fa Choi, Chinese Happy New Year, of course. So all the best to you in the Year of the Tiger. Anybody who, any Chinese listeners? We don't seem to have many Chinese people in our community. But Happy New Year to you. Kongi Fa Choi. That's Belfast and Belfast celebrations of Chinese New Year there. Anybody been celebrating Chinese New Year? Always good excuse, isn't it, to eat a bit of Chinese food and eat some oranges. My mother's from the Far East, and so she really loved this. Where the cultures meet. Obviously, there are a lot of oranges and citrus around at the moment in Portugal, and it's a symbol of good luck and appreciation and affirmation of wealth to give people oranges. So thank you very much to Lucy for the oranges yesterday. That was a beautiful coincidental timing celebrating Chinese New Year. So feel free, if you are sharing your oranges out from your orange tree in your garden, to wish people a Chinese Happy New Year as well. Year of the Tiger. Significant one, folks. Have I got any more pickies to show you? Oh, I do. To go along with this from yesterday. Do you remember yesterday Garvo's video from the Zézer River? And I'm not sure if this is a confluence or if it's two names for the same river, of the Zézer and the Alge. But the point being, look at this. This is the water level not long ago, and he went and took a picture of it yesterday. And look at the difference on this. We need to talk, folks, about preserving water and the drought situation in Portugal. Zézer, Alge, A-L-G-E. He went and took a photo yesterday, and look at it now. It's an extraordinary difference, isn't it? I think it is where two rivers are meeting there, but Garvo put us straight on that. Quite remarkable. We'll keep that conversation going on. I think it's right, isn't it? It's a good thing for us to. I mean, there's a few happy homesteaders here. A great idea to have watering systems that don't waste water, save grey water, and plant the plants appropriately so that you're not watering them all the time. There are ways of doing it, and swales and so on. We could go into some depth, and we will do on the gardening Q&A on a Monday. So let's have a look at some of your comments this morning. Thank you for that, Garvo. We'll be keeping our eye on that situation. And let's go see what you've been saying this morning at 8:45. I'm waiting for Wiley to join us to talk about She'll talk about buying property in Portugal in general terms, but obviously can give you a real good focus on Cascais as well. She might have a few things to say about the industry as well, just by sharing how she approaches the subject. And you always beat me. I don't put a full stop in there because that wouldn't be nice, would it? You always beat me to the live chat, says Moaz to Thunder. And good morning to the early birds from Joao F. How are you this morning? May I jump on board? Of course you may. No need to ask, Joao F. Always welcome here. Good morning, Gumpers. There is a third early bird or a late bird here as well, Baldylocks. Hardly 8 minutes past 8. Oh, yes, but late for you because it's a bit after midnight in California. I wonder what it's like. I mean, we're in a sort of breakfast mode here, aren't we? Not exactly the most vibrant and dynamic breakfast show on the market. Kind of easygoing and laid back, I think, a lot of the time. But it must be slightly weird to have Good Morning Portugal just as you're trying to go to sleep there in California. Okay, and Baddy was in early as well with a Bom Dia Gumpers. How's it going, everybody? We're learning the Portuguese. Bom Dia Alegria Gumpers from the OLP as well. And Hola Pessoas. My internet is out, but so she must be on her data on the phone, possibly, is Rebel Mama. But the Mayo Homem, he's on his way. The man from Mayo. Ataja from Rebel Mama, slipping in some nice Portuguese there. Bom dia from the coach. Look, bom dia todos. I see you're all on early, putting the world to rights. Good job. Going out for a walk, so I'll catch you all later. Cheers to you, coach. Just have a sip of tea. I'm all stretched, says Moaz. Ooh, good for you. And James, good morning, James. Bom dia, Gumpers. Feliz quinta a todos. Estudei 50 minutos de português ontem. Very good. All in Portuguese this morning. Excellent stuff. It's working, James. It's working. Slug crossing. And chat between the Gumpers. Bom dia, Gumpers. Another frigid morning in Finland. -16. Oh, my word. What's that like? I can't imagine that. I mean, I'm moaning about, 2 degrees above, a bit chilly. And it is it looks a bit of the sort of freezing fog biz going on outside the studio window at the moment. When I was out with the dogs earlier, it wasn't the most cheerful of mornings, but -16, getting fed up with winter, but glad to be in the shortest month of it finally. Yeah, we're glad for you, quite frankly there, Suze. I mean, how much... I mean, it sounds to me like it's a matter of survival in those sorts of temperatures, isn't it? What is that like for you? Tell us more. Baldilocks is 12:28 here in Oregon too, so midnight. Maybe having the last glass of wine of the day, tuning into the show. And don't forget the poll this morning, Baddy's poll. Where would you choose to live and why in Portugal? Location, population, services, and affordability. Chris is here. Oh, I didn't give Heronius Maximus the Spotify playlist. Do we need to broaden our playlist, do you think? Is it too exclusively jazz funk? Chris, you're the man to make that call. Capricorn 12 here, who gives us a tune most days from the jazz funk and soul genre, but maybe we could broaden that, I wonder, with a few feel-good tunes. Feel-good Friday, of course, tomorrow. Jenny B reporting on the Rainbow Guardian. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow morning. A happy Wednesday to all of you. What? I studied Portuguese for 15 minutes, right? I'm a total beginner, and I'm guessing here. Well, it was just Bom dia Alegria. Let's go through that contribution from James, shall we? Bom dia, Gumpers. I mean, that's not difficult. Feliz Quinta to go. Happy day. A happy Thursday, Quinta. Happy Thursday, not Wednesday, Moaz. Are you a day behind, mate? Is it a COVID symptom? But yes, Feliz Quinta being... Well, that could be a happy farm, of course, couldn't it? Or would that be a Quinta Feliz? But Feliz Quinta, I told us, is a happy Thursday to everybody. And studied for 50 minutes of Portuguese yesterday. Wow, so 50 minutes there. There you go, Moaz. And I may well be corrected on that in a little while. Thunderduck, I haven't been on, but I've watched one replay. Really like the George and Steve quips. Make me think and smile. Then that's a good comedian, isn't it? Who not only makes you laugh and smile, but think as well. And George Carlin and Stephen Wright, I think, tick those boxes. We're looking for the Portuguese equivalent. And we were given a few names, but we've not delved any deeper as yet. Anybody want to take that on? Brian Taylor's in. Hello, Brian. Bon dia to you, and bon dia to Rosemary, who's also joining us this morning. How are you? And Anna. I haven't had a picture from you, Anna. No pressure, but you do take the most beautiful pictures. Bom dia a todos. What a great life we have here in Portugal. Well, that's a beautiful sentiment shared this morning. Thank you, Anna. It's so true. I was thinking that yesterday, having a delightful lunch. Yeah. Shout out to the folks at the Granada restaurant overlooking the bay in San Martino yesterday. Had a delightful poached sea bass on a bed of shrimp-infused rice. It was delicious. The cheesecake thereafter was pretty good. And Nunu had the mushrooms. He had a couple of great big portobello mushrooms with a few exotic mushrooms on top. It smelt delicious. And he had a few sweet potatoes on the side, which looked beautifully cooked as well. So that's Granada. If you're looking for a nice place to eat with a sea view, Granada. And Cindy B's here, who will only have to toddle a few steps to get to that restaurant. Bon dia alegria from a misty San Martino de Porto this morning. And Thunder, responding to Anna's comment about how lucky we are to be in Portugal. Life is wonderful in Portugal, says T-Duck. Morning, you beautiful souls, from Owen. Good morning to you, mate. How you doing? And Bon dia alegria sniffers. Should I read that out or not? What are we? I don't know what the fartos de borracha are, but we're being accused of sniffing them. Maybe you shouldn't look that up. If Pete's up to his usual tricks in the comments this morning. Bon dia todos, feliz quinta. Happy Thursday from Jean as well. And Suze, I started a day at the garage again. At least Van Gogh started this in this cold. So Van Gogh is the name of Suze's van in Finland. Electrical problems now. Oh my goodness. Vans and certainly camper vans can become a money pit. Ours was a bit like that. We had the last laugh with the great story of coming to Portugal. But yeah, they can be, can't they? Looking to trade it in before heading that way. Okay. Anybody want to buy a van? Not after you've told us all of those problems with it, Suze, but there's a van for sale in Finland, everybody. And bon dia from Pam, who may well be with us representing Alcobaça tonight, Where to Live in Portugal on the webinar. And João F, appreciating the sentiments of us appreciating Portugal this morning. We love the country, João F. No secret about that. From Australia this morning, Sam Wells is in. Up, Sam, hola to you. Hopefully no rain today, is Cindy's hope. And yes, I love it. All the Gumpers shouting out to each other, and I'll overlook and scroll through the comments there. That really helps me if I know you're talking to each other and not to me. But so great to see so much chat going on. So much chat in the chat. Lisbon for me, in answer to Where to Live in Portugal. And I haven't researched it, but I'm sure the best doctors and hospitals are there in Lisbon. You're probably right, although, I mean, there will be notable exceptions that prove the rule, I suspect. And James asking João F. Yes, midlife's little intervention yesterday, or input, about, I think what his mum used to say this, right? Bom dia, já chegamos. So we got to Madeira. It was kind of where we got to with that, wasn't it? What does that mean? It's not about being sent to Coventry, is it? Something changes when a mum says to you, okay, that's it. We've got to Madeira now, have we? Dougie's here. Bon dia. Oh, in the country. Well done, Doug. Bon dia from Carvalho. How was your journey? Let us know about that. What's it like for travellers at the moment, Dougie? And which Portuguese wine did you start with on arrival, sir? Cindy B. Hola, bon dia. Parecias também nesta quinta-feira solera. So your Portuguese translation exercise for the day. I won't spoil that for you, Cindy B. There you go. And bon dia todos from Ubi. Ubi's here, everybody. Ubi. Don't know if you already know or not, but I'm a huge fan of Ericeira. Yeah, kept quiet about that, Buster. Okay. James, vote for Ericeira, and Paul Williams. Hola, bon dia. We're back home in Penhascoso again, and it is wonderful. Yeah, I can hear a delighted out breath there and a nice sigh of relief. Back in Penhascoso. And I suspect a vote for Central Portugal there from Paul to you, Buddy. Pete, yes, you noticed. If it wasn't for the hospitals and the doctors, I'd choose the Algarve because I love warm weather and I want to be near the beach. Well, don't rule it out, Noaz. There are some excellent hospitals down there. That's grown with the expat culture, I think. Down there in the Algarve. So don't rule it out. Check it out. And keep the Algarve on your list. Yeah, people appreciating my mug this morning. Undisputed national treasure. Thank you very much to William and Carol for that. Nice mug, Carl. And a great cup too. Yes, very good. Must know the context. Oh, okay. It's when your mum's cross with you and says that, or a parent says that. So there we go. And Antonio stepping in. Já chegamos, Madeira. Literal translation, we have arrived at Madeira already. Usually meaning, will you stop that mess? There you go. And Pato Bravo. I think Thunder Duck spotted that in the picture behind me. Is that right? Yes, he did. Look, Pato Bravo. This wild, that means wild duck, doesn't it? I think. Well spotted. I love your mug. Thank you, Moaz. I'm not sure which one you mean. And I love the San Martino de Porto pictures. Thanks, Carl. Well, it's a pleasure. I'll keep putting them up. I'm just looking for a bit of balance. San Martino de Porto, it was in Carl's pic just now. Oh, there you go, the Pato Bravo. Antonio, does that mean wild duck? Yes, it literally means wild duck, but commonly refers to a person that is easily scammed. Oh, okay, like a, what would that be then? What would be another idiom for that in English, someone who's easily scammed? I laughed at Ronnie Cheng of The Daily Show for Chinese New Year. Can we learn any more? And well done, Pete. I didn't realize you had such a good command of Mandarin. That's very good, sir. Well done. Although I think it's not Mandarin, is it? Is it the characters, the Chinese characters, are more universal, and that's one of the unifying forces of China, isn't it? Although they may not even be able to understand each other in their own dialect, they may have a common written form of the language like that. And goodness only knows what Pete's put up there. If that has offended any Chinese viewers, we all complaints to Pete Bleach, please. When I first saw Pato Bravo, I thought it meant brave duck until I looked it up. And looked it up, he did, and found out that it was wild duck. I used to love going to Manchester's Chinatown at Chinese New Year. Haven't heard any celebrations here, which is surprising given the number of Chinese people here, indeed. And pictures coming in from Dougie. He's in the Algarve, everybody. So looking forward to seeing your pictures and hearing your tales of the Algarve. Why don't you join us one morning, Dougie, and give us a little bit of a verbal story on how you're doing. Cincinnati Bengals are the Tigers. So will they win the Super Bowl in the year of the Tiger? I couldn't possibly comment. I barely understand most of that sentence there. And I've told you, OLP, we need someone to come on and talk about American football, rugby, or whatever you call it. Only joking. Most of the Chinese in Portugal do the golden visa and not the D7, says Moaz. But apparently, and good morning from Portugal's newest homeowner. Well done, Robert Winkle. How is it going in your new home? Come on, photos, please. And before we welcome Wiley on at 9, today in Portuguese history, 1953, the Batepa massacre occurred in São Tomé, where when hundreds of native Creoles known as Foros were massacred by the colonial administration and Portuguese landowners. Yikes. That's horrible. 1953, but it's true. A true story there today in Portuguese history. Darker parts of Portuguese colonial past there. Only a very small percentage of Chinese in Portugal have golden visa. Those that have don't live here, and that's one of the benefits, isn't it? You get the passport, really. You can be like an international playboy or girl, and with that wad of passports in your safe deposit box, including a Portuguese one if you do the golden visa. Nubionet's in, all our lovely people. I'm being naughty. Oh, glad to hear it. I'm taking a peek between sleeping. I've missed seeing the live comments, and thank you for yours. And a bon dia, sleeping beauty. Oh, look at that. And a little wink there from Matty. Mark, bon dia, alegria todos. Second scouting trip. But well done, Mark. Anything we can do to help you on this side of the water, do let us know. You know we're here to help. I'm watching your poll, buddy, as I would like to know as well from the OLP. What have we got? Ericeira and what was it? Lisbon as well so far. Come on, folks. We'll talk about Cascais in just a moment as well. Central Portugal, of course, from Peter Bleach. The sea is nice, but it's blooming freezing. River beaches in Central Portugal are plenty as well. So you won't miss out on swimming and being by the water. Central Portugal's river beaches are awesome. I grew up in northern Ontario, Canada, so climate is similar, but spent most of adult life in warm and wet Vancouver, BC. Just about done with this cold. Yeah, there comes a point in your life, doesn't there? I mean, it was the same for me. That was a really good thing about leaving the UK. I just didn't enjoy the winters anymore. My gloves got wet, so it was chilly driving. Not good. I'm looking forward to being here in Portugal, I'm sure, Suze. The Batepa massacre marked the rise of the independence movement in Portuguese São Tomé and Príncipe and is commemorated annually as a national holiday. And Dia de Mártires da Liberdade on February the 3rd. Thank you very much. And the Monchique water that I mentioned before is alkaline, folks. I found it in Lidl. And they do a very good box. They do a cardboard box of water, which is very good. I mean, obviously got a plastic lining in it as well. It's not just a cardboard box and a little tap on it. And 138 for 5 litres. And I think is the box 5 or 10 litres? It's probably 5, isn't it? Otherwise, it'll be huge and too heavy to move around. But yeah, great value. Good buy that and good water. And I've been watching and listening to Portuguese with Carla. I've especially been enjoying her technique, and there's one for the erotic novel. I use her podcast to fall asleep. I think I'm sure she won't be offended by that. I think listening this way will help once I get there. I'm sure it will. Yeah, and it's meant to go in, isn't it? Even if you're not consciously hearing it, it's going in at a subconscious level, and it's good to be surrounded by the Portuguese sounds. And okay, I will never forget the Pato Bravo slang. Perfect for one who is easily scammed. Let's go to Cascais, shall we, and have a chat with Wiley this morning in the first of her monthly residencies. Hey, Wiley, how are you this morning?
Hey, how are you guys?
We're really good, just hanging out, having a bit of a chat. We have a bit of a warm-up until the main event and the star of the show arrives, yourself this morning. So having a little bit of a giggle in a chat, and it's so lovely to see you on a screen. And I take it you are in Cascais this morning.
I'm in Cascais. Yeah, it's wonderful here. I love it. I moved recently from Montreal to Baio de Pescador. So now I'm walking distance to Cascais, and I didn't really know what I was missing because I was kind of just off walking distance to Cascais, and it's cool on this side of town. It's been a pleasure to experience both sides of Cascais, if you will, the left side and the right side. So it's cool.
Estoril, did you say? Was that where you've moved from?
That's where I was. I was Montreal.
Montreal. Okay, sorry, I thought you said Estoril. Okay.
No, it is. So Cascais, and then there's this tiny little place called Monte Estoril, and and then it kind of goes directly over to Estoril. It's just this little tiny, it's literally a kilometer wide, and then it moves on to Estoril. And so it's cool. It's just one stop away on the train, and here it's just at the train station. It's just interesting because when you become local in an area, you become to really be, expert, as we've talked about earlier, in that area. And this side, it's just this small little streets and the tiny little stores. It's fascinating. It's just so much more. It's so much more Portuguese than Monte Estoril is, which is so much more expat.
Yes, because I was saying that in teeing you up this morning and talking a little bit about Cascais, there is it's a long-standing expat area, isn't it? And is that to do something with the UN or NATO base there?
That's further down the street. That's more in the area past San Pedro into Carcavelos. But no, Montreal, the reason it's super expat is because it's probably one of the more expensive communities. And Monte means mountains. So everybody has a view. And what a view. So you're paying for the luxury of the view. And so it tends to be more expat. And very international Portuguese, and the buildings that go up, they started $1.5 million, and everyone wonders why until they move there and they go, oh, okay,
that's why,
because we're at the top of the tops. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be here as well. I kind of miss it though. I miss walking down the street and hearing lots of English because here I walk down the street and hear lots of Portuguese, but it also helps me with my Portuguese. So there's a benefit.
Of course. And I think, is it fair and safe to say that Estoril, Monte Estoril and Cascais are long-standing expat communities? They have been very international for a long time. And of course, Estoril is where the casino is. And it's thought to be the Ian Fleming inspiration, isn't it, for the James Bond story? I don't know if that's true because obviously there are probably a few places claiming that around the world, but it was important, wasn't it? In the Second World War, there were people meeting there in neutral Portugal, so people have been coming all over the world to that part of Portugal for a long time now, and so it has deep expat roots, I think.
It's true. And just a couple months ago, because of COVID, they did an outdoor paddle tennis, which is just, so wildly popular. But in order to have it outdoors, they actually built courts on the casino grounds and built the stadium seating there. It was incredible to have the backdrop of the casino on the right and the ocean on the left. And then at Christmas, they generally have the Ferris wheel in downtown Cascais, right in front of the Bahia Hotel. But this year, because of the queues, they didn't want people to be too crammed up with all the other Christmas village that they had there. They moved that to the gardens of the casino. So it was incredible to see it because it had a whole different landscape when it was there. So the casino draws a lot of attractions. Very often there's fairs and concerts there. So it's they've continued to make it a really cool place to visit.
Yeah, it's the high life, isn't it? It's really exciting. Yeah, it's the high life for sure. Altitude and style and everything in history. So a great part of the country that you're representing. Could you tell us a bit about yourself? You know, how did you get to be in Portugal?
I in 2018 decided to retire, much like I was reading the comments this morning. Too cold from Sweden. It was talk about cold. But it's interesting because I'm from the United States and Connecticut. You know, the recent blizzard. And consistently for the 28 years that I lived in Sweden, consistently my family in Vermont and Connecticut had more snow than we have in Sweden, which is technically unfair for Sweden because it's so dark that when you get the snow, it brightens the earth.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, the Swedes want it to snow because at least it's light and bright. Yeah, no, I ran a business there. I had my real estate license from the United States, ran a different type of business in Sweden, and decided that I was tired of wearing, technically in October, I put on, most people have down jackets. I had a down skirt, full length. And they're not unusual. I rode my bike in it. And I basically put it on in October and took it off in March. And I was kind of done, you know, it wasn't my style any longer. So I decided to be warm and light and bright all year round and move here. And I have never, I mean, I obviously go back and forth. I still have property there, but I've never regretted it, not for a day, not for a minute.
Wow. And did you just know you wanted to live in Cascais? Was it difficult for you choosing the right place in Portugal?
Well, you know, it really wasn't. I actually never even looked, and I know that's a very naive statement. I had friends here, and they basically just, you know, they kept every time we had the opportunity to travel, they're like, why not come to us? And consistently, regardless of the time of year, consistently, the weather is so ideal that we didn't have to think about going to other places. I mean, if 30% of your friendship base has already moved here, you kind of just follow suit. So yeah, I just kind of jumped on their coattails and showed up.
No, fair. And that's a really great thing, isn't it? I guess if you've got a ready-made community or group, that's a big attraction, isn't it? In moving over or moving anywhere. Superb. And thank you for your help with this Pato Bravo. I was wondering what's the idiom? And it's a sitting duck, of course.
Sitting duck. That's right.
Yeah, sitting duck, wild duck, brave duck, the Pato Bravo there. So there you go. Somebody who's easily scammed. So any questions for Wiley this morning about Cascais? It was a real joy to talk to you a few weeks ago with our Premium Plus folks, and hearing about your take on real estate, because let's face it, it's a culture shock for people coming to Portugal and engaging with the real estate industry here, isn't it? It's different.
It's a culture shock for a realtor. It's a culture shock to find out how business is or is not done here, and how the rules are kind of, you know, up to each and every person to kind of design, even though they'll tell you differently. It's not, you know, I've done enough deals where every deal you go, that's done. So yeah, no, you just have to kind of weave your way through it and maintain your integrity. That's the answer. It's just, you know.
So what sort of thing? I mean, and we will welcome comments in the chat as well. People's experiences of engaging with the industry here. It is different. It's a culture shock, not just for the buyer then, but for people who are used to the industry as you are, Wiley. I mean, what was the outstanding thing, or what are some of the big shocks you've experienced?
Just this week, I have a client who flew in from the States, and he'd flown in last year to do the same kind of, you know, shopping tour. Last year, so a price that was a little too high for him, and so they bid low and didn't get it. He came back this year and said, "My God, if I'd only purchased it, I could have afforded to live in a better neighborhood at a better price because the prices have gone up since then." But he, you know. Since we're in a place we've never been before, I keep saying, you know, we're not post-COVID, but we're in a position. COVID's never happened before to us, and you know, Brexit's never happened before to us, and Trump's never happened before to us. So there's so many things that we're going through and have gone through that have changed the dynamics of why people are moving here. And what position we find ourselves in actual Cascais, and how the prices continue to increase, even though people talk about the bubble and it couldn't possibly get more expensive. And oh my God, it's doubled since 5 years ago. And yet it doesn't seem to. I want to believe in a bubble because I think interest rates are probably going to go up, but I haven't seen it. And so that, first and foremost, the owners, to answer your question, the owners are saying, oh, well, look at the prices. I'll price my house here. And they're driving a business that shouldn't be driven, because you walk into a house. I walked into a house yesterday for 750, and it was almost 9,000 euros per square meter. That's new build prices with concierge, swimming pools, tennis courts, and I mean that's not an old building in Passo de Arcos, Oeiras. It's not, and yet the owner believes that that's the value that it has. And I have another owner. We tried to bid on this house. It's been on the market for 497 days, and they've decided they don't want to drop the price after 497 days.
Okay.
And as a buyer, your buyer comes in and goes, what? Nobody's budging? And the idea is it's not negotiable. I've never heard anybody say it's not negotiable in a deal, especially when it comes to property. How do you say those words?
No, I have heard that before, though.
Yeah, you do hear it, but it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's just 500 days, one bid, and you're not negotiating. And so then you kind of just shake your shoulders and walk away, but you want the house. And so you'd say, meet me somewhere. And the answer is no, this is our price. But obviously it doesn't have any value. Market survey says it doesn't have that value. And they're like, well, we'll just wait. So it's frustrating.
Why though? Why would somebody do that? Because that's what they need, maybe.
That's what they need. Very often these houses have been, have they been left to them? There's 4, brothers and sisters, and 4 people have to agree. And some people would say, hey, that's after 500 days, you've had one offer. Take it, Look, but no, they keep suggesting that, if it sits on the market longer, it'll have more value. And to their point, the prices have increased since last year. And so, okay, I can see a percentage of the mentality, but it just seems to me that the prices we're walking in on, the clients and I look at each other and go,
yeah,
750.
Not what you're expecting at all.
No. And when you look at a house for about €1 million, that's a complete renovation. Like, you can't move into it. For €1 million, you can't move into it in this neighborhood. And you think that there's something wrong with this picture. So, so it's hard. And that's kind of what I consistently find is it's an inflated price, and you want to wake someone up and say, okay, I appreciate that that's the price you want, but have a conversation, negotiate, at least have a give and take with me. Because I can't do my job if I don't have a give and take. And I need to be able to see that we both give. And that's, as a negotiator, as an agent in someone's best interest, you want to be able to say, let's go in and find a middle ground. And that's what I miss, is a middle ground very often. Yeah,
because like you're saying, it's not really a deal, is it? It's a demand, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's and the thing is that I do a comparative market analysis, and I can't justify the price. And so I can't say to my owner it has value. Can I say to my owner, if you gut it, put money into it, and then how many years from now will you see a return on your investment? It's so subjective. I don't know how to tell them that. Yeah. Especially on the precipice of interest rates changing or not, or bubbles bursting or not. I can't set my clients up to lose. So, at least if I feel like there was a give, at least we all feel as though we both took a risk. But when we're the only people negotiating, it's very difficult.
Yes, very one-sided. Okay, Cascais is part of the so-called Portuguese Riviera. That's the word I was looking for. Most countries have a Riviera of some kind, don't they, where the rich and famous gather, and it may have some historical interest as well. And clearly that's true of Cascais. Penned an article about this region in the Portugal News. It's beautiful. Is that the article or the region? Probably both there, Doug. But yes, we'd love to see that. Have you got a link to that? That would be really helpful to us this morning. T-Duck also saying Cascais is beautiful and a very short drive from Lisboa. So if we put it on the map for people, as you said, you mentioned the railway line before. There's a great railway connection to the capital, isn't there? It doesn't take long to get into town.
Not at all, and it's ridiculously inexpensive. I think it's €2 to do so, and an Uber would cost you from here about 23 to 25. Uber is now shifted, so if it's high demand, that the prices are much higher. So in a normal demand, they're suggesting there's other companies that can get you in for less money, but the cost of parking, or not the cost, the mental cost of parking, driving in circles to find a parking space, or even the parking garages. I mean, if you have an SUV, you hyperventilate all the way down those, those narrow circles taking you down into the, Mother Earth to get a parking space. So if you don't have a Fiat 500, it is a nerve-wracking experience. So taking the train in, and it's also, from an organic perspective, it's lovely to be on the train, to be in collective traffic. So yeah.
It's a very handy for the capital. My question would be, and we've got another one from Sue's coming up, which is great. Thank you, Sue's, with a Scandinavian and Canadian perspective there. But do you have to be super rich to live there? Are there any other suburbs where you will find something for a little less than a million there? So tell us about that, Wiley, because I know you deal in those sorts of properties as well, don't you?
Absolutely. All you really have to do is okay, there's a small caveat. You can find places even in the wealthier communities. Obviously there are smaller houses to be found, or smaller apartments to be found, but you really have to go in with the idea that you're going to be renovating. Because the reason they're not picked over is because there's too much work to do. So if you can come in knowing that, and that is a whole different conversation, because there, as you read it and you've heard, so many people who are out of integrity, who will take your money and not continue with your build. So that's a separate day. We can talk about those things. But yes, there are smaller spaces to be found. Also, smaller communities. Where I am, Bairro de Pescador was built for the fishermen. And the government gave them houses, T1s. They charged them €200 a month to rent them, and they guaranteed that the fishermen wouldn't go broke. So it's a community where almost every house has a parking space for a boat, and
Fantastic.
It's close enough. Yeah, it's close enough to Cascais, where they all did that. It's on a valley, where in the valley it's where all the sheep were, the pigs were, the chicken were. And all the vegetables, and that ends up at the mercado, and where, of course, the gathering place, the fair, was where they would bring for slaughter. And so the fishermen, literally, it's like a minute behind us is the mercado. So the fishermen were here with their catch, and everything was super close. So small communities like that dot along Cascais, that aren't necessarily expat communities, but that's the thing. You don't have to move that far back to have less expensive community properties. You just have to be willing to go into a community in Cascais that is not an expat community. So
that would be ideal for some people, wouldn't it? And that sounds beautiful. That sounds like authentic Portuguese life as well. I'd love to live like that.
Well, it's not easy because in an expat community, we tend to spend not as much money. We tend to spend money on the facade of our homes, in our landscaping. The Portuguese, who don't have as much money to do that, they won't do that. They'll hang the laundry out in the front of their home. They won't paint the facade. They won't have fresh flowers. They'll have gardens that are overlooked. And so that's when you begin to know that you've switched communities. And so that's hard, because you want to have a beautiful garden. I asked my neighbors. I live there's 4 apartments, and I live on the top of 4. And the 3 have been here for quite some time. And they said, well, we own the garden in front. And I said, but as 1/4, I believe I have 1/4. And they said, well, you can have these 2 rows. And then they had an opinion about what I put in those 2 rows. And so you think, I'm trying to up the facade. I'm trying, the curb appeal should be interesting. And they said, we don't necessarily want that. And I'm fighting against something. And I said, but I'll pay for it. And they're saying, but we don't want that.
That's great, though, isn't it? You've got to admire that in a way, haven't you?
Yeah, sticking to your guns. But so sometimes you go through the communities and it doesn't look the way you want it to look, and so it's hard, because what you do is you say, okay, I'll be the first person, and people hopefully will follow, and then we'll all start to follow suit. And I've recognized that as I now been here a year and walk down the street, there are more expats coming in. There's a gentleman who's a pilot for an airline down the street, and he is changing his curb appeal. And
another cultural adjustment there, isn't there? Because I've heard this said as well. It might be more about what's inside the house than outside.
Absolutely.
you
Right.
as you said there. Yeah, yeah.
I told
Incredible.
everyone I'd pay for flower boxes across the entire building, and
Yeah.
asked them if I would pay to have them move their laundry lines from the front of the house to the back of the house.
The expats in.
Nobody said yes. Nobody
That's
said yes.
amazing. No, thank you. It's okay. We're quite happy. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Hello and welcome to you, Wiley, from Sue's. I understand that in Sweden, all houses sold are bid on. So used to the deal there and the negotiation. In Canada, one would set a price trying to create a bidding war. And again, I think for a lot of people here, that's what they're used to, and often succeeded in popularity. Does that happen in Portugal then, or not? Is Sue's
God, this
question?
is such a good question. The answer is no. I just put a house on the market, and within a week, I had 3 full price bids on it.
Right.
And so in Sweden and in America, you would then go back and say, I have a bid at that price. Are you interested in bidding more? Here, that doesn't happen. And my owner was Swedish, and both of us were like, let's do that. But it's not done. And so what we did was we went back and we said, we have a bid at this percentage down. If you come in at a different percentage down, we would entertain your bid. And so when I find that there are multiple bids here, the answer really isn't take more money. It's who gives the biggest amount of money first. Like, put your money where your mouth is. So, yeah. Another deal, we both came in within an hour of each other, both full price. And so they said, who can close the quickest?
Yes, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. And so my client couldn't close. The other guy said, I can close in 7 days. And mine said, I can close in 14. And so the 7-day guy won. And within a time frame, a couple of days later, it turns out he couldn't actually close in 7 days. And they called us, and we closed in 14. But that is how that works out. It's very often, if someone says full price 10% at down payment, someone else would say 15%. And that would be the defining factors, is which percentage was higher and how quickly they said that they would go to down payment or CPCV. So that's how we handle it here, as opposed to bidding wars.
Yes.
So far.
Okay. And what I really enjoyed hearing about when we spoke before as well is your bespoke approach and only dealing with what you know about. Because I think one of the approaches in real estate is just to say yes to everything. And yes, I can help you. Yes, I can find you that. And often that people can't because they just don't have the resources or the coverage or the inventory or something like that. And you're very specific with this, aren't you? You know which areas you know, and those are the ones you want to work with people. So tell us about that and how you actually work with people. What instructions do you need? And why would somebody looking at your part of Portugal, why should they work with you?
It's interesting. I was at a house yesterday, and the clients were looking at the house and bought a friend in who had recently been here and purchased and renovated. And she said, so you're a buyer's agent? And I said, yes. She goes, when I moved here, that didn't exist. I wish there were more buyer's agents. She said, I actually went and I called all of the real estate agents. I had to go through a calendar and try to set up all the different viewings. And then I had to negotiate everything, on my own, because quite clearly, if you're a seller's agent, you're being paid by the seller, as am I. I'm being paid by your seller, but you have your responsibility is to get them their best price. Your responsibility is not to get me my best price. And so you can't serve two masters. And so for those reasons, when you come in and you call the agent on the job, who has the listing, again, they have the responsibility to the owner. So if you have a buyer's agent come in and make that transaction, then it's between me and them to have that negotiation, which we sometimes doesn't, sometimes there's no budge, but there is at least, you have someone who comes in as your solicitor for the job. So she's like, I wish, because the hours and hours that it took me, it takes hours to set up listings, to set up viewings. A client who is here now from the United States sent me 14. And by the time he got here, there was only 8 to see. And by the time we scheduled them, they'd already canceled 3 because of COVID and 1 because they chose to take it off the market. And all that went through me, and he didn't have to deal with any of that headache. So,
Okay.
and then I'm trying to rearrange so that I don't have 2-hour gaps between each of the showings. So it's a logistics. So there's like logistics management is part of being a buyer's agent. To your point, Carl, if he wanted me to go and see houses all the way over into areas called Uirish, which is a lovely neighborhood, but I don't know it. And
Yeah.
so when he asked me to do that, because the last time he was here, we did all locals, and he said, I don't really want to go there without you. So I called the agent and I said, here's what I want you to know. I don't know your neighborhood, and I don't know how to help my client with the best opportunities for this house, because I can't tell. I can do a comparative market analysis, but I don't know what else is going on in the neighborhood. I don't know what build is happening. I don't know what this neighborhood's known for or who the people are that live here. And if you can partner with me on that and bring me up to speed, at least I can say to him, I don't know, but he knows, and we can listen to his information. But I prefer not to do that. But I did for him because we've worked together before. But I prefer to stay in a neighborhood where I can say to you, I happen to know in this neighborhood that this neighborhood is known for this. This is the type of people that live here. If you say to me, my children are going to the International Sharing School, where do those children live? Then I have a clue about where that is. And who lives in which neighborhoods, and what those neighborhoods, traditionally the prices in those neighborhoods, what they were, what they've become, that I can share with you. And that's why I like to be an expert in my own area. I also usually say that I sell a neighborhood because I can sell you a house, but we can change your house, but we can't move your neighborhood. So if I can't, the house is so important, but if your neighbors are horrible and the neighborhood is loud, and if it's a block away from a kindergarten and you can't park on your street or drive through because you don't know there's a kindergarten a block away, which is, if you try to drive on Marshall Allen, when they drop their kids off at Salesianos, you'll be late to anywhere for a good 30 minutes. The backup is horrific. If you don't know these things about your neighborhood, if you don't know they're planning to put a restaurant a block away that is grilling hamburgers and the wind is going in because you're north, right? Because it's going in your direction. You need to know these things, or you will be inundated with that waft of, grilled meat for the better part of the evening. So
unless you want to live somewhere with this constant smell of cooked meat, some people, that might be right up somebody's street. But the point here is, of course, you're finding what people want, and it's difficult for them to do that for themselves at a distance. And Nubia Net's, understanding the value of this, it's great that there are more buyers agents. Otherwise, I wouldn't dream of trying to buy in Portugal. It's so different from California, less expensive, but the resources and process is different. And potentially quite stressful, right?
Absolutely.
That's where you're helping people, is saving on the stress. And I suppose all people have got to go on when they're looking are pretty pictures on the internet, and sometimes not very pretty pictures. But they'll just say to you, all they've got is an area and some pictures, and this looks nice, but not very much more than that. And that's where you can fill in the gaps.
Right. I had some friends, they bought in Lisbon, and I don't do Lisbon. So I had to send them into Lisbon without me. And then at the end, they decided to rent out before they moved here. And so I went in and I recognized that there was water damage on the ceiling. And I said to them, did you have an inspection? We talked about you having an inspection. They're like, yeah, well, the agency, they sent over their inspector. So I asked them for the documentation. It turns out it was a visual inspection. They didn't come in with water monitors to monitor moisture. So when we then tried to claim that they sold us something that had water damage but painted it over, they said, well, you had an inspection. Our hands are clean.
Yes.
And so my people do, it's expensive. It wasn't really more or less expensive than what they did, but we come in, we measure water pressure. We measure, the pressure and temperature from the boiler. We measure moisture in the walls. We take a look at the cracks. We check out if it's been freshly painted. We understand where, if the electrical panels, we turn on all the washers and dryers and refrigerators and ovens, and a visual inspection doesn't do that. And so they were falsely led to believe that they were safe. And so that's a tricky situation, because now we have an issue. Now we have an insurance claim. So we can't release it. And so it's been sitting for 2 months and they don't have an income on it, and we're having issues. That wouldn't have happened if they had someone who said, this is the inspector you're taking. These are the things the boxes we need to have checked. and you will be safe. So that is, you really need someone to go in and kind of fight for you, which is unfortunate, but people do paint over mold here. And so you really need to have
it happens all over the world, doesn't it? And people
Absolutely.
just desperate to sell, to do desperate things, which
Absolutely.
people will
Right.
repent. They're not repentant. The buyer beware. They'll regret that at their leisure if these things aren't seen and sorted out earlier on. Be careful, says OLP, not to be too American to the Portuguese. They may be offended by your offers to upgrade them, Wiley. I think the thing here is balance, isn't it? We've got a couple of comments along those lines, but clearly there are areas of improvement, aren't there, for the industry in Portugal? No question about that. And really, if people are moving to Portugal from other parts of the world and they're experiencing these terrible stories and the industry doesn't professionalize itself in some areas, that's a really bad reflection on the country, I think. And I've changed my view on this over the last few years, because I was thinking, well, you come to the country, you've got to accept it as it is. But I've become a little bit more, well, okay, this doesn't reflect well. This is not good. And I don't think it is good to have a culture where it might be possible to get away with things that you just described in any country, not just Portugal. But if Portugal is doing that, let's encourage the industry to operate in a different way and bring a little bit of a different ethic to the industry. And this is the problem, isn't it? They say, don't they, in Portugal, there's like 10 million real estate agents here, because everybody even the kids know someone selling a house. So everyone's a real estate agent in some sense.
It's true.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I used to get so frustrated. I was at a dinner party, and there was another agent there, and they knew that I was sitting next to a person that I was working with. And by the end, that agent said to the person, well, I can show you things that aren't on the computer. I can show you pocket listings. And I'm like,
yes.
That's my client. You're talking to my client and offering to show them something. There's so many clients to go around, and there's so many agents to go around to poach somebody else's. But
Yes.
It's not the first time I was completely blown away, but they came and they called me and they said, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was out of line, and that was great. But I've been to showings where we walked out of a showing a month ago, and at the end of the street, there was someone handing out real estate magazines. And we're like, this is odd. We're in a residential neighborhood. And we looked at the real estate magazine. It was her business card and her real estate magazine. She didn't know if we were agents or clients. And she was kind of pitching us, to work with her while we were leaving a showing. And it's like, there's so many people, there's 10 million people looking for a client. And when you realize that you have to go searching for them, that if you're in the wrong industry, because if they're not coming to you at some point, then you don't have a reputation that's worth, upholding. So
Right.
it's tricky with all those agents out there. And I could, once again, because they took the license away in 2008, anybody can do what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. What's this? So why was the licensing taken away?
They decided that after the financial issues that we had, that after 2008, that in order to have more opportunities for more people to make money, that they would stop licensing agents.
Oh, and just encourage a lot of house sales and everybody selling their house and just getting some money moving in the economy. Ah, okay.
I think done for all the right reasons, but at some point you go, okay, we're not there anymore. Let's reinstate licensing.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Okay.
they never did any of those licensing, that those tests were never given in English. So I even had to ask if a proxy would come in and, and they would tell me in English, and I would tell them, and that would be observed by whoever the test person was, that we would be doing it through my knowledge. But you have to really know the language in order to take the test, which is unfortunate that it's not a multilingual test. But if it ever comes back, I would push for a multilingual test. But for those reasons, the Department of Real Estate doesn't have that same stronghold on each individual selling. So that's another reason you need to be careful. An AMI number is allocated to the house. So as we talked about earlier, RE/MAX can have one AMI number and 100 agents under that AMI number. And they don't maybe they do, but they might not have a really good feel for what 100 agents are saying. For those reasons, since there's not a rule book that they had to sign off on, and each one of us had our own personal licenses, as we do in California, for example. If I mess up in California, the Department of Real Estate puts me on warning. And then after a number of warnings, they remove my license, and I'm no longer allowed to do what I do. And that would be wonderful here when you start to listen to people the way that they speak. I think Jerry was saying that he was even in a situation where he was there for a buyer as to help understand what was going on. And he recognized that the agents were lying to him, and he knew better. But if you don't know better, that's a tricky scenario.
Yeah. So it's all part of the industry improving, I guess, and bringing these new standards.
No, it can only get better.
Yeah. Okay. Bon dia from Ana Rita Vieira, who's on the doorstep there at, not literally, don't worry, of Cascais over there. And I'm sure you'll be with us tonight, Ana, as we talk more about where to live in Portugal, representing Cascais this evening. Maybe, this is interesting, maybe people are not interested in curb appeal because they're not interested in selling their home. I guess that might have something to do with it, right? It's not necessarily a busy, competitive market. It's not about property, it's about a home. So they're not seeing it as a business, if you like.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if curb appeal is a business. I think maybe it's just pride of ownership.
Okay, all right. So possibly another cultural insight there. And William's here, who gave me all the lovely goodies yesterday. Bon dia, all you gumpers. I'm a proud owner of a Blue Circle garden, very low maintenance. I think Blue Circle is a concrete company, isn't it? So low maintenance there. Specific inquiry from Moaz, I think, and this is what we'll do in the coming weeks when you're with us, Wiley. Maybe we'll do some lovely pictures of properties over there in Cascais. I'm sure there was a Moaz inquiry here about typical pricing on it. Whilst I try and find that, can you give us some price indications, what we're looking at for a family home in respective neighborhoods, in the neighborhoods you like to work in?
Oh my gosh, I guess we're looking at.
I know that's a tricky one. But roughly speaking.
Right, and a price per square meter. As I said the other day, I showed something for 9,000, and I've shown probably for as low as 3,000. It's to your point, super subjective, depending on if they've been renovated or not, or the proximity to town. The amount of the house compared to the amount of property, pool or no pool, it's incredibly subjective, and that's one of the reasons why it's really important that you talk to anybody you're working with and ask them for a comparative market analysis. The problem that we have with a comparative market analysis is that very often it's based on sold properties, but the sold properties, even though it should be public information, I can't find out what people sell their properties for, and it's not written. So when they base the CMAs, they base them on listing price.
Yes, which is very misleading.
It's misleading, but at least it gives you an average for the listing price, and then you can take a look at it and recognize, up and down. But it gives us a foundation, if nothing else. And it's the best we have. It's the only tool we have, which is unfortunate.
Well, I found it now. Here's the example, and it's interesting. I mean, do you think that's going to happen in Portugal? Is that the selling prices will be listed and there will be a database at some point, which there isn't at the moment?
From your lips to God's ears.
Okay.
No, there isn't anybody who doesn't want that.
No, okay, but it's not happening yet. Okay, so 3-bedroom apartment then with a dishwasher. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, you must get this all the time. That's quite a random request, but that's first on the list for Moaz, and obviously according to Moaz's particular needs there, dishwasher, AC, heater. You're going to get all of that in a modern place, anyway. Your washing machine, the elevator. That's an interesting one because not all apartment blocks have elevators, and a view of the sea would be nice. Now this is going to change the price a lot in Cascais, I think. I hope I'm not being so demanding. I don't think Wiley has any problems with you being demanding. That's what her job is meeting your requirements. So what do we think there, just to get the ball rolling for Moaz? What are we looking at?
Okay, I'm a week away from listing something that looks just like that. The problem is it is it's a 250-degree view building, so you see everything from the bridge to the Central Mountains, and 3 bedrooms with all the things you're asking for, and that will go for $1 million.
$1 million. There you go, Moaz. Have a look. Go check all your assets. We're looking at $1 million for that one. Now
that's higher end, obviously, because we're dealing with an incredible view property. So a sea view. The minute you say sea view, even a sea glimpse. A client of mine
sea glimpse.
That's a new word. A client of mine just bought in Passo de Arcos. It's a 3-bedroom. All the things you're asking for on the 1 floor up from the street. 4-car garage. It was on the market for $520, and she negotiated a better price, but it was above $5. So And that's literally a block and a half from Marjanolan, and the beaches in Passo de Arcos. So there's anything, let's say anything from 5 to a million. That's a massive difference.
No,
But
it's fine. But yes, please. I'd love a coffee. Thank you. With milk would be great. Sorry, Wiley. Just putting my coffee order in there. No, just for guidance, because for some people watching, they have no idea about Cascais or Portuguese property. So we're just getting the ball rolling, getting some ideas here, and I'm finding this fascinating. The laundry thing, because I think Cristiano Ronaldo was in the papers. There was a photograph of one of his apartments, and he put his laundry on the balcony, which I don't think you're meant to do in this luxury apartment that he was in. So it's a cultural thing. It doesn't bother me, but I can see it does bother other people. The idea of living in a Portuguese neighborhood for language immersion and their friendly ways, but laundry out front and shabby gardens is a turn off for Suze as well.
It is.
I guess it requires
When my realtor, when I was looking, when she showed me this apartment, she parked in front of it, and there were the garden gnomes in the garden. It was a white stone garden, and there was garden gnomes. So there was birds and little trolls, and they were blue and pink and gold. And I said to her, "You can keep driving." And she's like, "No, I insist." I'm like, "Yeah, but so do I." I don't do gnomes. And so, but she did insist, and I bought it. And I bought it because I saw that it had potential.
What did you do with the gnomes? Are they available?
The gnomes, remember I told you they don't want to share their garden with me?
Yeah.
So, there's a part of me that every night I think, if I can just remove one of the gnomes, and then
leave the gnomes alone, Wiley. Leave the gnomes alone. Oh, it's so funny, isn't it? Because it's the picking and choosing, isn't it? Like, I would love to Portuguese life. I don't want the gnomes. Come on, give the gnomes a chance.
No. But I want to go back to the original question of a sea view. I have a sea view. I'm in this little tiny neighborhood, in a very Portuguese apartment building, and it's not lovely curb appeal. It will be when I finish with it, but it's not today. I have to go slowly. To one of your people said, be careful, not to be too harsh on the Portuguese. I recognize it's little, a moment at a time, because after I did my strips of garden that they gave me permission to do one more strip, and so I think you just have to let them. Because I put these urns in with these, kind of, not topiaries, but I put some urns in, and they said, those urns are too big. And I said, but what have you had before? And they said, smaller urns. And I said, why aren't they here? And they said, because they stole them. And I said, hence the reason for the big urns. And so, I had to kind of go slow. But they're warming up to me.
There's a movie in this, because they're having the same conversation. We're going to call this movie Curb Appeal. And
Exactly.
It's going to be the ongoing toing and froing between the Portuguese families who lived there and this new American woman.
Oh my goodness!
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing comedy, isn't it? I think with a nighttime balaclavas, gnome removal, and stuff like that.
The thing is that I power washed the entire front area, and they all said I could, but not one said thank you. And so it's different. There is a tremendous amount of pride with the Portuguese, and you have to tread lightly. You really have to tread lightly.
Yeah. But that's only right, isn't it? That's only right. And look, here's the other side of it. You save yourself a fortune here, Wiley. Drying clothes in the sun is very common in Portugal, almost cultural. I would agree, and as I say, it doesn't bother me at all. But I can see it's causing a lot of discomfort for some people. If the sun can do it, why spend electricity? There you go.
And absolutely, I just wanted to put them in the back. That's all. There's as much sun in the back as there was in the front. That's all I asked for, and that's what I did with mine. I don't use a dryer. I put mine in the sun. It's a wonderful thing to do. Absolutely.
South facing at the back for the laundry, then. Okay, another box.
Also, very standard to have washing machines in the kitchen, which is kind of that, it's where your food is and then your clean clothes are. It's very strange, but 60-70% of the homes you walk into have the washing machine next to the dishwasher.
Yes. Okay. I was talking about yards and clotheslines, not the structural integrity there. This has caused quite a lot of talk this morning. Cascais to Ubi felt more like a nouveau riche Florida than authentic Portugal, but I was spoiled by Sintra. Yes. So can we have a comparison then? a personal opinion there. But what's yours on the difference between Cascais and Sintra?
I think we're generalizing with Cascais with uber rich, because there are certainly neighborhoods that are poverty struck. And so you can find them. And then, my goal is to find, which is what I did when I invested in this one. I found that the balance between Cascais and uber rich and Portuguese, going to soon change over or shift. And I don't want them to move out at all. I just want to be able to do what I need to do in my own neighborhood and make sure that my investment, is lucrative. When you say Sintra, I had this impression before I moved here, because of all the rumors, that Sintra was so humid and kind of so far off. There are one-way streets in Sintra where if you live anywhere near them, you have a hard time getting out if there's lots of traffic. And that's true of anywhere. Sintra, the streets just happen to be a little bit smaller than a lot of the streets. So it is hard to get around anything. I sold a client in Praia das Massage, and she beautiful. And she consistently sends me her humidity readings on her house and compares them with mine. And I've never, ever had less humidity than she has. She's always had less humidity.
So that's a key consideration. A lot of people are very worried about that. So Praia da Massage, Apple Beach.
Right, but there's these micro, kind of God, what's the word I'm looking for?
Microclimate, yeah.
Right, microclimates. And you need to know where they are. And that's another reason to work with someone who knows where they are, because then, a city to the right, it's horrible. But this particular one is really good. So you just have to know where these, and it's true. They literally kind of go in circles, which ones are right and which ones are wrong. So Sintra is stunning. It is my goal to move there. I think I'll start with Malvera de Serra and then get enough guts to go back another step. But I think that the quality of life is phenomenal. The bang for your buck is still good, really good. And where they live, it's almost bohemian chic. It's obviously you have to have enough money to live there, but people who live there, they're a little bit cooler. They're,
Okay, Ubi likes the old fort at Cascais. I don't think that's on the market, is it, at the moment? Long time. Thank you for that comparison there, Wiley. Long time. Hello, Emily. How are you? Greetings from South Korea this morning. Sorry I joined late. No problem. No fashmal. If she hasn't talked about it, this is Wiley. I'm curious about an opal. Now, this is new to me. And is this available? Are you aware of these sorts of things? Older person actively living. Is this like a sheltered housing where you've got an older person and you've got a little bit of communal space and a warden or a concierge or something like that? Is that going on here in Portugal now?
There are older homes for the elderly. I don't know if that's what that is. I had a client come in and was looking for estates that had no less than 13 bedrooms because she wanted to create her own. And, where everyone would buy in, 13 people would buy in and then lease them out to other elderly until, that all those 13 came of age to move into it. And that should have had all of those communal spaces that you're speaking of. I don't know. I'm not well versed in that, so I can't speak to that. But to her point, in buying, we talked about last time that you need to pay your mortgage off by the time you're 70. And so for those reasons, it's really hard for someone to come in when they're 65 to buy anything. And so they're subjected to renting life out. So I think that that is a difficult scenario. I don't know if that mortgage is shifted if they purchase within the realm of an opal facility, if that's what it's called. But I'm not well versed enough to speak about it.
Okay, but if would you investigate that, for example, for a client? Okay. So if a client wants that and wants to be in your area, you would engage. I
would do my best to find out.
Fantastic. $1 million, says Moas. Forget the sea view. Just give me the elevator. Okay, that's WC feels, doesn't it? This is a good question. So for people who might end up working with you, Wiley, how do they start where they are? Sam's in Australia. What are the primary real estate websites in Portugal? He's asking. That's all he's got to go on, isn't it, really? So where should he be looking to begin to give you a picture of what he's after?
Oh, Sam, when clients reach out to me and I tell them that we don't have a multiple listing service, which just means that I have a key to all of it. Here, we all have exactly what you have. Agents don't have anything different. And then they say to me, am I stuck with Cascais and Idealista as the two kind of the big players? And they are the big players. But I have over the years acquired a list of what I think is probably a complete list of all the different places to look. And I think I'm up to, 8, 10, 12 different sites. And there's even a site that's only dedicated to MUAs. It's only dedicated to ocean view properties. So, and it'd be nice if we could find more of those sites. So, only dedicated to penthouses, only dedicated to walk-ups, only dedicated to townhouses. But because if we're going to have this many sites, let's see if they can be more specific. But I have a list of those 12 sites. Happy to share it with Expats Portugal, and you guys can.
Thank you. Well, that's really helpful. Yeah,
but Sam, there's a ton of them.
Okay, what would you say to this? Chris is saying, always have a full property survey. I think, speaking from experience, perhaps, make sure you know your property boundaries too. A couple of things there before we say goodbye to you, because we will see you again in this residency. But you've been very kind with your time this morning. Before you go, those couple of things.
Property survey. My inspectors, they don't necessarily do a survey. They just check that the parameters are written on your official tax document. Your official tax document is called a certidão, and that's directly correlated or connected to finances, where the caderneta is not. And so when you get your documents, when you go to put in an offer, make sure that your caderneta and your certidão actually have the exact same type of information, and your tax numbers are on both. And for those reasons, your boundaries should be well defined. From an inspective perspective, yes, you do need to make sure that you can do that. And as we talked about last time, not all owners will allow you to do so. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. And Wiley, I've heard that there are some banks that will offer mortgages and payoffs by age 80. Can you confirm?
Jim, I can't confirm. I don't know that. I know that there's a general rule. But
we'll talk to Jacqueline about that, and you can go into partnership. It's funny because often you have parents guaranteeing a mortgage. I think with the Portuguese mortgages, you can have a child offering to guarantee you, who's got a longer lifespan, and then the ability to pay the mortgage.
That's fascinating. I would like to know about that if that's true.
All right, I'll put you in touch. And anyone else who wants to know the answer to that with Jacqueline, of course, she joins us on a Tuesday once a month as well to answer Portuguese mortgage questions there. So thank you very much, Wiley, for joining us for the first time here. Back again next month, and maybe we'll have. I do like looking at a few pictures. So maybe we'll have a look at some of these lovely pictures with 250-degree views, or you can show us what a sea glimpse looks like next time we speak.
That I can do.
Okay, thanks so much. How do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
WileyandPartners.com.
WileyandPartners.com. There you go. Have a great day. Have a great month. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao. And there she goes in Cascais in the beautiful fisherman's village there. Sounds like a great place to live. I've got quite a few of those sorts of features. A lovely market here in San Martino de Porto. But right on your doorstep like that, that's a beautiful slice of Portuguese life, isn't it? And interesting comments. There's some knickers getting twisted this morning. And we're happy to have a look at a few of those. Go back over a few of the comments here. Nubia has an excellent preface for it, I think. Remember, Mercury's in retrograde. It's probably not so harsh a criticism. That's a good point that you're making, Nubia Net. And we'll scroll through a few of those. It wasn't sheltered accommodation that Amelie was looking for, was it? I think she points that out, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. In the few minutes that we have remaining of the show this morning, there is sheltered housing as a part of some misericordias, which is part of the care system, social services here in Portugal. The one in Alcobaça recently built some, and they look nice, so it is possible. Let's scroll back. We've got a jazz funk track of the day as well. I think it's, yes, and I think there's a campaign to save the gnomes as well this morning. Done thunder on that. Okay. Dougie says, yeah, I find this tidy house annexed to scruffy houses all over Spain and Portugal, sometimes palatial villas next to total dereliction. It's quite strange. It's different, isn't it? That's the thing. That's the hilarious thing this morning. I think it's just different. And all this sort of human movement around the world, and people bringing their different values, and it being a melting pot, and us being work in progress. as international and global societies. Fascinating what that's brought up for us this morning. But where did we get to? I'm trying to find out. Oh, and we've got lots of things coming through as well. Pictures from Dougie. Lots to share this morning. So Alte, what does that mean, Doug? Alte 1, Alte 2, Alte 3. You got some lovely pictures that you sent in. Let's finish today with some of those. In fact, we have got maybe the ultimate garden gnome. Quite by coincidence, after talk of garden gnomes and curb appeal and so on. Oh, my phone's not connected. I need to do something about that. There we go. So we will be able to share these with you in just a moment. Stand by. Don't go anywhere. You're going to see the ultimate garden gnomes in just a moment for your Portuguese property if you're into that sort of thing. Wiley wasn't. And I think it could be an amazing feature film, that story or that toing and froing between the two cultures. And here we go. Final picture I'm just downloading. I think he's in Lulay, everybody. Fabulous Lulay. Or nearby. Well done, Dougie, sending those pictures in. And from the cafe at Praia da Ribeira de Ilhas of Ericeira last week. That's a beauty. Thank you very much for James for that. We will share that. Okay, messages coming in. Good morning to you, Lisa and Carlos. The ponies in Swajal. Thank you. That's lovely to end with as well this morning. Oh, what a beauty. That's a beautiful picture. Thank you very much for that, Rebel Mama. Oh, look at that. Have you done something with your hair, pony? That is very nice indeed. I've shared that one to the kids this morning and spotted a kick sled at the store. This is how cold it is. Somebody went to the shops on the kick sled in the snow in Finland this morning. All of these to show you. Don't go anywhere. And William, who gave, what's that picture there, William? Where are you? Look like you're parked up on an airport there, my friend. I found a nice airport to park in. Okay, be careful with that. Where did we get to? In the comments, I think we've lost with so many this morning. We're not. I think I'm going to start here. This looks like the right place because I can't find the beginning anymore. I tend to find that Portuguese sellers aren't often willing to negotiate prices, especially in the Algarve. Not just real estate. Price is the price. Wiley, what is the average price in San Martino de Porto? And this is definitely not Wiley's area. We are looking to work with a similar buyer's agent here in San Martino de Porto. I would say a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo or apartment with a terrace. In the meantime, OLP, just remind me on WhatsApp and I'll take a few photos for you when I'm down the town and gladly do that for you. Lots of catching up to do this morning, lots of pictures to show you, and people mentioning a few Portuguese language sources as well. Rui and Joel interviewed them a long time ago. They are fantastic, and you can watch them on tap now. That's a good product placement. Rui and Joel, Practice Portuguese, I think their company is called. Matty reminding you, if you like the show, help the channel by hitting the like button and subscribe. As Cindy B puts it, fondle the like button, folks. And Leo, another Portuguese resource that has a nice workout show, about 25 minutes. Is that a linguistic workout, Gene? Or is that a workout in Portuguese? And Midlife Crisis, João F. Obrigado por dizer isso. Na verdade, leva muito tempo, mas estou fazendo mais para entender melhor meu pais. I don't know what that means, some of it, but I can't string it all together. I just listen with an open mind and try not to think about it. I'm just trying to understand the flow of the language right now. Yeah, very good. And you'll be able to do that with, of course, with this new invention, the internet. You can, of course, tune into Portuguese TV and radio, which is a really good way of doing that. Fortunately, I love the sound. Feijo do dia. Oh, that's a beauty. Garden Party by Mezza Forte. I think they're from Iceland. Strangely enough, I remember this tune also well during my early jazz funk life. I'm a funketeer for life. There is no cure. It's a great way to start the day listening to jazz funk. Okay, be careful not to be too American, Wiley. Yeah, that's where the comment started, which was fascinating this morning. And yeah, I thought this was a good point, Pam. Maybe people are not interested in curb appeal because they're not interested in selling their home. And yes, it's a fascinating culture clash and adjustment that has been the subject of the conversation this morning. Shabby gardens and laundry out front, a turn off for those from other cultures. Hang on, this is insidious. We love cheaper Portuguese neighborhoods. Now let's gentrify them so that the Portuguese can't afford them. And that, of course, is a problem. You're quite right to point that out, Eusebio. And it needs to be balanced, doesn't it? We need to find a balance here. And how do we do that? Which, I mean, this was a big problem in many European cities, wasn't it? And gentrification. Well, gentrification is a problem all over the world, and poor people not being able to afford houses in their own neighborhoods. Where are the models where this is solved, or if not solved, then doing better than other places? Because I'm sure Wiley would see it quite like that. That we're pricing people out, but people got to live somewhere, haven't they? And we need to figure this out. We need to find a way of figuring this out. It's great that there are more buyers agents. Oh, thank you for that, Nubianet. That came in earlier on. And Moaz, we tried to help you, and maybe a crowdfunder. Get that £1 million euros together and move Moaz for the life he wants to have over here in Portugal. Antonio F. Yeah, this was a good comment. Thank you, Antonio F. Yeah, why use electricity when you can dry it in the sun? Do you have a network of buyer's agents? We're beginning at OLP. We have Wiley in Cascais. We have Vitor, as you know, I'm sure, up in the north. And we have Peter von Noonan as well from the Portugal company. We're working closely, or we're bringing together people or somebody from the Algarve. What I mean to say is we're closing in on finding the right person, both in the Algarve and for me to find somebody, and I think I know the person here on the Silver Coast. So yes, in answer to your question, we are bringing that network together. Midlife, if I hate Wiley's curtains, should we all chip in to change them? Well, you could try, couldn't you? You could try. I suppose the difference there being they're inside the house, aren't? Oh no, you can see them from the street. So yes, I guess that could be woven into the script that we're talking about. The new movie, Curb Appeal. Remember where you heard about it first. Antonio, no, I meant using the sun to dry clothes. Direct solar power. No need to convert it into electricity. Thank you for your comments this morning, Ubi, and they were followed up as well. Pride of ownership. I think UCBO quite cross this morning. Once upon a time, the US sent the Marines in. Now they send in the Curb Appeal, pride of ownership, please. Oh, come on. I am house proud, whether I own or rent. I work in set decoration on film. Our motto was always leave a place looking better than you found it. My personal policy as well. And it's all very subjective, isn't it? Are Renos difficult to do city? I don't know what that means, actually. I'm not sure. Is that renovations? Bob Tapper, I'm so sorry, but I missed that earlier on. And Wiley will be back, as will Vitor and other people who can answer this. And maybe we can pick that up tonight in the collective intelligence of the webinar. So, Bob, join us tonight. If you're not already signed up for that, join us on the webinar this evening from 7:30, where we're talking about where to live in Portugal, and we can take that question in. Cheers, Bob Tapper. Not seen you before. Nice to see you here this morning. A million, yep. That was reminding me of the what's he called? The Borat movie, where he's being taken to his room and he thinks the elevator is the room. That was a very good scene in that particular movie, wasn't it? And yeah, hey teacher, leave them gnomes alone. I've heard, says Nubianet, you need to make sure the elevator goes to the ground floor. What? Also check their maintenance record for the elevator. Good call there, Nubianet. Thank you very much. And curb appeal and property appearance criticism is feeling like a culture insensitive to me. It could do. But it needn't necessarily be that, right? I mean, surely we should be able to talk about these things. And we are. I did something for me and no one thanked me, says Eusebio. My. As Wiley said, baby steps and in time you may succeed to choose to concede. Yes, indeed. But why not have the conversation? I mean, isn't that the richness of human life where the boundaries meet? Notwithstanding, sensitivity, but let's talk and have conversations and let's let it get difficult and let's clean up the mess. That's my approach to these things. And sometimes it is a bit, ooh, ouch, ooh, aye. But, aren't we better off having the chat than not having the chat? It triggers my arrogant Americans button. The idea that the culture we move into needs to change because it's not like what we're used to and prefer. And yes, it could be that partly, but I'm sure it's not wholly a matter of that. And again, that comes in the conversation. We didn't come here to change Portugal. But T-Duck, I bet if you could change the driving licensing system, you would. Or not, maybe not. Families who have lived in homes and neighborhoods longer than the US. Pushing back there, Eusebio. This typical Portuguese neighborhood isn't American enough for me. Sometimes I don't understand why people are moving to Portugal to make it America. I think, I get that, but I'm not sure it's quite as... it's just pushed some buttons this morning. I'm not sure it's quite as strong as that, Michelle, but who knows? It could be. Just thinking about mortgage possibilities versus renting this. So sorry, you got the wrong end of the stick there, Emily. But don't forget, all these conversations are a process. So tune in again, reassert your question, go to the forum. These are all conversations in progress. Where we hope to find the answers and find balance. Thank you, Capricorn, for that. I would live here for at least a year before considering a home purchase, is the advice from T-Duck. And Tamara, good morning. Bon dia, a little off topic, but I have news. I have a CEF appointment today after calling and getting through yesterday. Something's happened at CEF. Thank you, Paul Richards, for that message yesterday. Yeah, they are posting how many people they're dealing with, which is a really great idea. Well done, CEF. I think things are happening. Miracles do happen. Or maybe elections help, going back to the slightly cynical view of the situation there. TF Dewey, good morning to you as well. Always interesting. When things get a little bit eggy in the comments and the chat, we hear from people we don't normally hear from. Here's one. Sintra and Cascais are totally for American snobs. Get out of here, TF. Not totally, but yes, I get your point. If your location depends on prestige and trying to impress people, you're on the wrong ball. Okay. So that's on the other side of it. So who here is living in a dump by choice? It's a good question. It's a fair question, isn't it? Bada to Pamela. What was that about, Pam? What did I miss? I don't think it's fair to ask for a professional test in English. In Arizona, English is the official language and teachers are not even allowed to speak to children in Spanish. Okay. Tamara, yes, I'm so excited, and I do believe in miracles. So well done, Tamara, on that appointment. Please, let's not call names and be disrespectful simply because we have different perspectives. Good call, James. What have I missed for Pam? I need to know what I've missed out for Pam earlier on there. Can somebody remind me before we go to those last few pictures? We're way past 10 o'clock, you rascals. Don't get your panties in a bunch. I love that phrase. Knickers in a twist, panties in a bunch. It's not about living in a dump. It's about forcing your aesthetic onto others. And I suppose that then, looking at it from the other side, do you have the incumbent aesthetic forced upon you if you move into an area? But I guess you might say, well, you don't have to move into that area. I'm not saying we need to choose a dump, simply that it's not to be like America. A lot of beautiful pictures of typical Portuguese life includes a laundry on the front window. Always be careful to have beautiful clothes. And clean pants. There's a solution. Thank you, Anna, for that. Brilliant. Don't forget that many Portuguese people don't like having their clothes drying in the sun at the front of their buildings either. Thank you, Joelle F. Who's Farsegg? She offered to buy planter boxes and was turned down. Part of the cultural learning curve, another way of seeing it there. And first day in Portugal, and it's foggy. Yeah, sorry about that, William. Try harder, weather. Carl, Alti is a parish in the Lule municipality, and we're going to see some pictures of it before we go today. Okay, so it wasn't Pam at all who was getting the congratulations. It was Tamara, the CEF appointment. Okay, so I didn't miss anything. They only do it because their apartments don't have access to the cliffhanger there. Thank you for the coffee, Mrs. M. I'm not having my undisputed national treasure mug. I had that for my tea this morning. Now I've got a much more tasteful Fernando Pessoa mug this morning. Isn't that beautiful? Mike's here. Good morning, Mike. How are you? You couldn't get more Portuguese than here in central Portugal. And after all, if you want to live by the sea, surely the Med rather than the Atlantic is preferable. And Carl, thanks. Carl, pictures of the SMDP. Well, you want me to send you some real estate pictures? Happy to do that. Back of the buildings. Okay, so if you don't have access to the back of the buildings, you can't hang your laundry there. Some don't have access to the front. Unfortunately, not many have the money to buy their dream apartments. Indeed. And yes, Alte is a place in the Algarve. We'll come to those pics in just a moment. I need to get through these because there's some great comments this morning. Carl recommended Antena Deutsch on the radio. Great choice. Classical music, and they speak slowly and distinctly. Yes, they speak in posh Portuguese there, you know. We always listen in the car now. Antena Deutsch. Not the other commercial stations. Portugal, agora. The wonder has happened. My heating is now up and running after 13 months and 14 days, just in time to move to Portugal. Fantastic. And I agree with midlife crisis. Thumbs up for the Eusebio this morning. Do you have any Expats Portugal affiliated buyers agents in Nazaré? No, but soon. I'm working on it. In fact, I'll work on it straight after the show this morning. That's probably how long it will take to get my driver's license. What's that? 13 months and 14 days. Oh, come on. Keep your fingers crossed. Are we still putting ourselves behind that intention experiment there to get Mrs. Duck the driver's license exchange? I just booked my first flight. No, my flight for my first trip to Portugal in April. Well done, Jess. Fantastic. Oh, no. Curb Appeal was an American show on HGTV. So we might have to... I think Eusebio will come up with a good title for that movie that we're going to make about the Americans moving into the Portuguese neighborhood. It's going to be hilarious. And we need to get the Portuguese kids. Have you seen their Facebook page and the videos they make? We need them in as script advisors. Real estate has evolved into an investment class and upscale developments are everywhere. This creates phantom economies, says Ubium. And yes, while we're about it, do we need a better political system? We have an elevator to the underground garage, but no stairs. If the lift is out of action, you have to walk around the building. Hey! And no, it's not a joke. That's a true story, isn't it, Pam? Where many units are unoccupied by the owners for most or all of the year, maybe a short-term rental, but the investors and owners often don't care about rental income. It's interesting. Yes, phantom. As you say, phantom economies. Golden Visa does that as well, doesn't it? We have an American refrigerator, but we hide it from the windows. Brilliant. This phenomenon creates... you have a walk-in refrigerator. That's what American fridges are like, aren't they? Why, Americans? This phenomenon creates communities and entire cities that lack... Well, should we talk about this more on the Bubble Off Centre podcast tomorrow? Don't forget, 10:30 tomorrow, the Bubble Off Centre podcast, episode 2. Let's talk about that. Let's start writing that script for the movie where the Americans move into the Portuguese neighborhood. This phenomenon creates communities and entire cities that lack heart, soul, and a vibrant, diversified economy, I beg your pardon, and community, right? Our DMV is 18 weeks by mail for renewing vehicle registration. I don't know what a DMV is. And did I just hear I believe in miracles? Jazz Funk Alert! Yes! Just check flights. Is it Lisbon, Porto, or Faro? Is that for Jess, I wonder? A beautiful mug. Where is that from? It is from... You're liking that then, are you? That is from... He's got a cork hat, you see. Two lots of Portuguese culture in one mug. Cork and Fernando Pochá. And look, and it has that lovely... what is that a haiku? I don't know. But oh no, it's not the one I thought it was. It's not about having a big soul, this one, is it? Ooh, I'm gonna back to the translation drawing board. But I'm glad you like my mug. 2 mugs that have been liked this morning of mine. Anna McGee is here this morning. How are you, Anna? And I prefer Antena Tres. That's more of your pop music, isn't it? For you youngsters. This kind of development is not exclusively American, but I can smell it in an ocean away. And try to avoid buying into it. Tickles me. Thank you, Ubi, for that. People crave Portuguese authenticity, and yet loads want to flood it with foreign values. At this point, I will hide my Marmite and apologize. Be careful. We will lose the real Portugal. I don't think so. Not when people are as vociferous as this, Dougie. This is where we have the free speech about all of these things, and it will be asserted. Don't you worry. Real Portugal spirit is asserted and will be reasserted every day on the Good Morning Portugal show. Don't worry about that. Just moved to Portugal almost 3 weeks ago. Loving this beautiful country, Anna. If it's your first time here, we don't always. It's not always as eggy as this of a morning. Some Americans are welcome to walk into their refrigerators. Oh, Prof. Curb appeal is also very Scandinavian. There's a difference between the expectation of a homeowner and the expectation of an investor in property and someone who cares about your investment. Yes, this is going to run and run, isn't it? We have such big fridges in the US. Please, no more comments now, okay? Because I've got to show you the pictures and have a life as well. So let's carry on tomorrow. We have such big fridges in the US. I've got to go and hang my laundry out the front of the building. We have such big fridges in the US, and we don't. And I've got to go and suck on traditional Portuguese lozenges. I've got further recommendations for you. We have such big fridges for the 3rd time in the US, as we don't have fresh vegetable markets like a lot of European and Asian markets. That is a terrible solution, Americans. Instead of building bigger fridges, is this almost like, don't build a bigger wall, build a bigger table. Don't build bigger fridges, build markets and grow fresh vegetables. Come on. After all, Portugal is a very nice place to move into. The landscape, the weather, the food are wonderful. The only problem is it's full of Portuguese. This is the problem, isn't it, Joel? I sometimes watch home buyer programs, and the most off-putting aspect are the criticism the buyers make in too small fridges. And we'll have to tear this out and redo this. The arrogance is awful. But come on, you're watching TV, aren't you? And I can imagine the producers thinking, we love these people who are going to come in here and be opinionated and tear everything apart. That's good TV, I'm afraid, in inverted commas. Good TV. Trying to get to Portugal for next weekend. I need some Silver Coast in my life. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And Carl, you'll always be part of the real Portugal for me. That is an honour for you to bestow that upon me. And you know me, always happy to hang my laundry out front, dry it in the sun, whatever. Get me smalls out on the front. We're growing vegetables in the front garden in our suburban neighbourhood here. I don't think anyone else is doing that. Mrs. M's got lettuce and cabbage growing out the front. Yes! Good morning, Portugal. Good morning, Portugal. Good morning, one and all, says Chris this morning. With the rousing, it's not a battle cry. It's almost like a pacifist cry, isn't it? Come on, come over here. Make love, not war. Getting to go get some hot chocolate now. Wink, wink. What does that mean? Is that is that some kind of sexy euphemism? Hot chocolate. Also, Americans are hoarders of food. Yes, yeah, I've heard this. Okay, so I think we're near the end of the comments. No more. We've got to show the pictures. All right. And the people are the country. There you go. Nearly blocked your comment there, Michelle. Thank you for that. And actually, the people are the country. And isn't that true everywhere you go? And an interesting trend. Is there a program called Good Morning? I know there's a program called Good Morning America, but is there a similar thing to this where there is Portuguese people moving to America? I wonder. What we're hearing on this side of thing is about Americans who want to move to Portugal because of the Portuguese spirit, right? And maybe, get rid of the gnomes. The Septic Tank Redemption. Is that the name of the movie? I don't think people are going to want to watch that, Prof. The practice of a daily fresh food shop is very appealing. It so is, and it's so Portuguese. Hoarders. It's sufficient. Full stop, says James. An American who is glad to be here in Portugal and just fitting in nicely. Thank you very much. But it won't be long. It won't be long. It's all very well now, James, saying you don't want to change things, but you'll be asking for Hershey bars in the padaria before long. You mark my words. He knows I'm joking. Right, I've got to get rid of a few pictures to share a few more with you. So let me just do that very quickly now. Chinese New Year in Belfast, San Martin de Porto again. Blessing of the Helmets poster. We'll be coming back to that. Don't worry. So let me bring on the pictures then. Have I even saved these yet? I think I have. And the Freguesia, the Foz de Aurelia, that's got to be shown to you. Some lovely tiling there. Thank you very much for that. William, are you back in the area? Give us a shout if you are. Okay, and we've got the video. Okay, thank you. That's not for publication, but that is about Ben's video of the cocktail. It did play okay, and I think we should have a cocktail tomorrow morning, shouldn't we? Should we run Ben's cocktail video tomorrow morning to start the weekend? Let's do that. Let me bring those last few pictures. 18 minutes past 10. Look what you've done now, everybody. Lots of pictures, including the best gnomes ever. We will finish with the best gnomes ever that you have seen. Talking of curb appeal out front. To Finland first. Kick sled, is that what you called that? Someone just pop into the shops. I can see a Finnish old granny on that, getting a few bits down the shop. Hopefully it's downhill on the way back home. Lovely. This is how we roll with our street signs here. The Freguesia, the Foz de Aurelia there. Isn't that beautiful in the azulejo tiles? Who's this? Oh, the ponies. Look at that. There are women, aren't there, who buy hair straighteners to look like that. Isn't that amazing? And there's a pony just wandering about in the wild with beautifully straight hair of Swajal. Thank you very much for that, Rebel Mama. That is a beautiful picture. After all this talk of humans and how they settle in homes, there's a wild pony for you who looks $1 million and doesn't even have hair straighteners or a walk-in fridge. Over to Alte now, Rua dos Cerimonieiros, that way to Lule and the Fonche and the well and the picnic area. What's that called? What's it called? Parque de Merendas. And the Escola, lovely lanes of Alte there. Another view here of Alte. That's beautiful, isn't it? I want to get in there, grab myself a nice cerveja sem alcohol and maybe a bifana. Oh, lovely. Thank you very much for these, Doug. And look, by the river there. Isn't that fantastic? But last but not least, and going full circle by complete coincidence to Gnomes, this is what you want outside your new Portuguese gaff, isn't it? Look at that. They're fantastic. Should we have a whip round and buy a couple of them for Wiley and just deliver them anonymously for a bit of fun, a bit of mischief in Cascais there? Okay, looking forward to the return of Wiley in a month's time. She will join us on the first Thursday of the month, talking about Cascais and anything you want to know more generally about buying property in Portugal. She's great on that. And wileyandpartners.com if you want to engage with her and have her help finding a place over that way in that part of the country in which she specializes. Dare I go to these comments now that are flooding in? I'll put them over. I'll put them over the last few over the end sequence for you. Those. Oh, bless you, Eusebio. Those look, yeah, he's quite right. I mean, can somebody not do something about this? Flipping kick sleds outside the shop there. You rascal, Eusebio. Even when making top political points, fantastic sense of humor. Some pics, please. Then a disco nap to prepare for the webinar, Carl. Yeah, I need to go and have a lie down. I'm busy tonight. We'll be on at 7:30 with the webinar, Where to Live in Portugal. And, of course, after that with the Premium Plus folks, talking about Portuguese language and culture. Sign up for Premium and Premium Plus at expatsportugal.com. You've been amazing this morning. That's been a lot of fun, hasn't it? We've had every emotion, I think, this morning, as well as having a lovely look at the Riviera, the Portuguese Riviera over there, Estoril. Oh, you got to, if you haven't been, put it on your list. Estoril, Monte Estoril, and of course, Cascais itself, and Sintra that was mentioned. And get yourselves over there to Praia da Massa. Apple Beach. Absolutely beautiful. I'll put you the rest of the comments over the end sequence. Take care. Bye for now. Maybe see you tonight at 7:30 or at 9 or at 8:30 tomorrow morning when Jenny B joins us for a Feel Good Friday. Whoa. Talking about the Rainbow Guardians. Ciao, ciao for now. Take care. Bye.